Hello everybody, this is Miss Peachy from your WCA Earth and Space Science class, and today we are going to be looking at your Unit 3, Lesson 9, Portfolio, Water, It Goes with the Flow. So there's a few different modifications to this portfolio I'm going to have to pull out because some of the links aren't working as well as I'd like. So there's two portions to this. The first portion I'm going to walk you through basically how to do and get set up to do the portfolio and do all the background information. And the second part, we're going to go through how to actually do the lab portion. And I'll actually do the lab portion for you on the video. And you can follow along and take your data from my observations, or you can make observations from my lab, or you can use that as kind of a directional tool to help you to figure out how to set it up and do it at home. So either one is okay, and both is okay as well. So for this portfolio, you're going to be researching watersheds, and you're also then going to be simulating a watershed, or multiple watersheds, as I should say. So the first thing you need to do is you need to do the pre-activity. What is a watershed? It instructs you to open the work file for this lesson. However, instead of opening the work file, I want to draw your attention to our website. So our website, remember, is accessible using that blue pushpin icon in the upper right of your Connexus screen. That'll bring you to the home page of my website. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to click on the Earth and Space Science tab at the top to navigate to the Earth and Space Science page. When you scroll all the way down, you're going to notice the Unit 3, Water, It Goes with the Flow student worksheet. So I'm going to go ahead and have you pop that out. And when you do that, you can download it, or you can actually open it in your Google Drive. Okay, so it should open like this. You're either going to download it or you can hit Open With. And when you hit Open With, open it in Google Docs. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And once you open it here in Google Docs, you can go ahead and just hit File and make a copy. You can make a copy of this. You can edit that copy. And when you're done with all your edits and all the additions you make, you go to File and then you hit Download again here. You can download it to your computer as either a Microsoft Word doc or a PDF. You can save that to a place where you know where it is on your computer, and that gives you the ability to upload it to the Dropbox. And it will be saved all nicely. So the first section, the pre-activity, basically has you use some links to be able to answer these questions. What's a watershed? Make sure to include the description of the term runoff in your definition. What parts of the environment, natural and man-made, make up the watershed? Give examples. How big is a watershed? Why are watersheds important to humans? Why are watersheds important to wildlife? And which watershed do you live in? So I'm going to walk you through not all of these questions, but some resources you can use to find this information. So there are 3 different websites here that you can use, and some of them work pretty well and some of them I didn't like as much. The second website is pretty decent, so we're going to go ahead and click on that one. Okay, so this talks about, what watersheds are, and it gives you a pretty good definition, including runoff. So you're going to have to read about watersheds here, and you'll be able to answer, the question about runoff and that kind of stuff. It'll help you answer kind of that first question on your list of questions on your background information. Okay, so that's going to help you with this one. What's a watershed? Make sure to include the description of the term runoff in your definition. Then it asks for the different parts of a watershed, the natural and man-made parts, and how big it is and why it's important. And I'm actually going to show you a little video to walk you through that information. So you guys can watch this video and hopefully that'll help you answer some of these questions.
To understand what a watershed is, think of a bathtub. The top rim of the tub could be the hilltop, the sides are the slopes, the bottom is the valley, and the drain represents the lake. Anything poured inside the tub ends up down the drain. The water poured closest to the drain gets there first, but all of the water eventually reaches the same destination. When snow melts, or when it rains, the layout of the land around you determines how quickly the water runs. Some rainwater seeps into the ground and becomes groundwater. Some evaporates, and the rest runs downhill into our wetlands, streams, rivers, and lakes. One place that clearly demonstrates how water moves across land is on a parking lot. Next time it rains, notice how the water appears to move in sheets down to the sewer drain or low spot. That sheet is the runoff of a small segment of the watershed. A watershed is an area of land that catches rain and snow, which drains into a marsh, stream, river, or lake. Homes, farms, forests, small towns, and big cities can make up watersheds. Some watersheds cross municipal, provincial, and even international borders. Watersheds come in all shapes and sizes and can vary from millions of acres, like the lands that drain into the Great Lakes, to a few acres that drain into a pond. A watershed defines Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority's boundary.
Okay, and then after you answer those questions from the video, the last question says, in which watershed do you live? And I was struggling a little bit finding that information with the resource that was given, so I have a different resource for you. And that is using one from the USGS, and I will put this link also after this segment of the video. I'll include the link on here. So when you get to this part of the USGS website, there should be a map of the United States, and you're just going to click in the area in which you live. You're either going to be living on the western side of Wisconsin or the eastern side. So if I live here in this region, I click on Great Lakes, and that means I'm in the Great Lakes drainage basin right here. Okay. So that's the Great Lakes region, and it's going to kind of show you the different watershed there. Okay, so that's going to kind of give you an idea of where you live. You can kind of, look even a little bit closer if you want to. These are just kind of giving you numbers, of where you might find yourself within that Great Lakes watershed. Okay. So that's just a good website to be able to kind of more specifically look at kind of where your watershed is. So we are in the Great Lakes region watershed. But then there's specific regions within there, which you don't have to put down. So that's one of them. You might live in a different portion of the state, which is fine too. And if for some reason you don't live in the state of Wisconsin, that's another thing to include. Okay, so that's kind of the pre-lab portion of this. You're going to be answering, like I said, those questions. After you're done with that portion, then you're going to be moving into the actual lab portion, which we'll do next. So that's the part where we're actually going to be doing the demonstration, and then you're going to answer the questions on that student guide about the demonstration. All right, guys, we're going to be doing the activity portion of this lab, Water Goes to the Flow. I'm going to be doing it here on my desk, and you can do it along at home if you've got materials, or if you don't have the materials, you're welcome just to observe what I'm doing, and we'll kind of see and hope that everything works out here. You can take data from me. So what you need to have is like a sheet of paper. I'm using this little dish here just to kind of keep things from getting too messy on my desk. You also need a bottle of water. I didn't have a water bottle, but I have just an old bottle of hairspray that I emptied out and filled with water. So it's been cleaned out, filled with water. I'm using that. And then the instructions also called for you to use some markers, but I didn't really have much luck with the markers. So instead of using markers, I'm actually going to be using some food coloring because it's water soluble. So what I did was I just put some green food coloring in like a little dish here, and I'm going to use a paintbrush. And you can probably use watercolor paint, or you could probably even use markers if you have like Crayola markers that are water soluble. I didn't have anything like that at home. So the first thing it says to do is just to crumble up the paper. And I wish I could get this thing to stop focusing constantly, but let's see if we can do that. It stops doing that. So you crumble it up because you're going to be making like some hills and valleys with it. So let's see. I don't know, I crumbled up a couple different ways. And then when you straighten it back out in the dish, it should have some elevation. So you can also kind of do this, guys, kind of squish it a little bit like that. The idea is to create kind of hills and valleys and areas where it's elevated and areas where it's kind of not elevated and that kind of stuff. Okay, so there's what it looks like. And then I'm going to take my dish with food coloring, and I'm just going to tap it off. I don't want to get too messy here. I'm just going to lightly paint just the ridges of my hills. I don't want this to be real runny. I don't want it to run down. So you're going to make sure you tap off your brush before you do this, okay? So ridges. And then ridges. More ridges. Just paint them up real good. Kind of therapeutic in some ways, you know. Because you're making yourself a little landscape. Okay. Alright, I think we got the majority of the tall ridges painted. You don't have to paint all of them. We just kind of want the tall parts, the higher elevation. Okay. Then we're going to make it rain. So it says like 5 or 6 spritzes. I don't know, it took me more than that. Essentially, you're going to spray it until you start to see runoff. Let's see if we can do that. See, definitely takes more than 5 or 6 sprays. So you can kind of start seeing runoff already. See if I can zoom in on that a little bit. There we go. Get a little bit better close-up imagery here. There we go. Now you can kind of see that, right? Streams are flowing. Message, just kind of watch it. You know, watch where everything's going. Again, I'll try to zoom in just a little bit more here so you can get a little bit better image. Kind of watch the flow. Try to get both sides of it if I can. Okay, kind of get you an idea. And we're going to kind of come around and use this camera to look at all sides. Okay, look at it from the other side as well. All right, that's pretty much it, guys. Make some observations of what you saw. It says, what part of the natural environment does the crumpled paper represent? The misting from the spray bottle represents what part of the water cycle? And what does the colored water represent? Okay. And then look and see how many different watersheds are in our model. Okay. How many different areas is water collecting? Remember, that's what a watershed is. A watershed is where is the water flowing to? How many different areas do you observe here that you would consider to be watersheds? Okay, notice why we have the dish now. Ha ha ha. Otherwise it gets to be kind of messy. They said to put paper down, but I like the baking dish better. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for your observations. Good luck with the rest of the portfolio.